welcome you with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, ET Now's daily initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. It's our endeavor to take in the most relevant questions pertaining to you, the MSME entrepreneur. That's our show then. Let's get started. And in studio tonight to answer all of your queries, I have Sushanta Mitra. He's the founder and CEO of the Lead Angels. I also have Srirang Tambe. He's the founder and CEO of Orega. Thank you, gentlemen, both very much for being with us here tonight. Let's get started right away. The first query is coming to us via email. It's coming to us from Rajiv Vastupal. He's written in to say that as an SME and MSME, essentially, the problem that we face is for any expansion, approval or work-related matter from nationalized banks, the time involved is very extensive. So he's written in to say, how do we ensure that the time involved, and I'm assuming it's also there's a cost involved for the MSME, how do they go about ensuring that that comes down?
Nationalized banks do have their own requirements, as we all know that they've been very worried about NPAs of late. So they do have extensive requirement for documentation. There are private banks are probably a little faster than that, and there are NBFCs who are even faster than that. So depending, of course, all come at a slightly higher cost. So you have to decide what is more important for you, the time or the money really, and take a call. For people who are yet to start looking at these loans, they probably need to talk to their colleagues and peers and find out what is the documentation required so that they can prepare beforehand and not have to go round and round that.
Sure.
So I think there's a complete new ecosystem which is coming up for alternative financing. So you have a lot of marketplaces and a lot of online lenders who are ready to work with SME companies, especially all the vendors of the e-com or those who have a very rolling business in terms of sales. So a lot of SMEs today can even explore availing credit or loans from online marketplaces or online lenders because they claim to have a turnaround time of 48 hours to 72 hours basically. So, so what is happening is because of this problem of time, because time is money for SME today, this entire alternative ecosystem of financing is coming up, and I think every SME should kind of try and avail to its benefit.
All right, that's in response to your email, Rajiv. Thanks for writing in. Let's take in our next query, and this is a call coming to us from Sunil Nandekar. Go ahead, Sunil.
We are looking some funding solutions. So we have faced a lot of, we went actually a lot of banks and everything, but we are not able to get the funds actually. So how to get the funds for the SME business? So we are an engineering services company and located in Pune.
All right, Sunil, thanks for calling in with your queries. Maybe we can start with the funding issue.
Sure. So I think first is to understand what VCs are looking for. VCs are looking for businesses which are not capital intensive, which can scale very rapidly and potentially grow to a size where there would be an acquirer or an IPO. Right? That's how VCs would exit from the investment. Specifically, if it is engineering services, in this case, Sunil's business, he would like to be able to demonstrate the scalability of the business so that the VCs could be interested.
Sure.
So I think to add to that, one of the very key points in addition to the points he has mentioned is actually the team, and that's exactly where Sunil comes from. So one point which VCs really focus on is what kind of team you have put together as an entrepreneur, or as a and what is the strength and depth of the management team, how experienced they are in your business. So if Sunil wants to take his business to the next level, first he has to decide what he wants to get into, and then look into his HR or his people and say, do I have the requisite talent and do I have the requisite set of people to take this company to the next level? And this is very important from a VC perspective, because I think talent and the quality of the talent is very critical for a VC to come into a company.
Let's take in the next query, and this is coming to us on social media, on Facebook. And do stay tuned. We'll tell you how you can reach us on social media. Arvind Karya has written to us on social media saying he's into the manufacture of products, including groundnuts, and would like to know GST. So essentially wants to know how GST could perhaps impact the business. Thanks for that question, Arvind. And in fact, GST definitely is top of mind as far as MSMEs are concerned. Everyone is gearing up for it. Whatever could be the fine print of it, the fact is that MSMEs, like everyone else, will have to comply. So maybe without going into the specifics of the industry that he's in, what would your recommendation be in terms of how MSMEs can ensure that, just like with finance, there is a checklist in terms of complying with GST and that they're prepared for it?
Sure. So I think Arvind is in groundnuts, so I'm assuming that he would probably have certain processes maybe outside the factory where he's operating, maybe in a different state, and so on and so forth. So one of the advantages that GST will have is that his overall taxation is likely to go down. So that is number one. Number two is that most of the filings would be online rather than in the offline way. So that would also, he would of course need to build the skills within his organization to be able to do that, but that would be the other impact on him. Also potentially if he is using any machinery, in overall terms, perhaps that cost may also come down. So in overall terms, it will be beneficial. As you rightly said, he probably needs to prepare well in advance to take the maximum benefit of it.
I think GST is a game changer for Indian SME. This is the right time for people to start on a clean slate, get their systems in place, get their paperwork in place, get their processes in place, and comply with the law. And this is once in a lifetime opportunity for people to say, forget the past, I have a new beginning, I have a clean beginning, and let's do business in the right manner. And I think that's really a game changer, and that can actually improve a lot in the economy, and a lot of agenda in terms of financial inclusion, in terms of disclosure, Aadhaar, information, everything can be captured if these processes and systems are put in place.
All right. So Arvind, that's a very comprehensive answer for you in response to your query on GST. Thanks very much for reaching us on social media. Let's take in the next one, and this is an email which is coming to us from Bharat Pardesi. He's written in to us to say he's in the manufacturing business of pistons, piston rings, automobile pistons, etc. So he's essentially in the manufacturing space for the auto component industry. He says they manufacture good quality products, but due to entry of Chinese products, their company hasn't been able to compete with such Chinese companies in terms of costs, wherein they sell their products at very cheap rates, which impacts their business. And how do they really go about dealing with this situation? So this could apply to any industry, and I know we've discussed this previously, whether it is in the auto sector or otherwise. Would you have any specific advice for OEMs, for manufacturers who are in the auto space in terms of how to deal with competition and at the same time maintain your costs and not give up on quality?
See, these are all evolved industries, evolved businesses, right? So the scope to increase the margin are limited because the industries have matured. So the only area that you can actually work on is reduction of costs to improve your margins, until and unless you come up with a highly innovative product which can get you the price. So there are 3-4 areas. Either they come up with a very innovative product which can command some price in the market. B, they work on their costs. Or C, they look at extremely differentiated business models. For example, if they have a physical distribution, they look at online distribution, or they say, okay, I cut down my distribution and I sell online on some marketplaces. So I think that innovativeness in thought process with respect to business models, costs, and pricing needs to come in. But this is a global phenomenon. I mean, everybody is facing this globally. So I think one has to become innovative to kind of address this issue.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there are companies who've been able to compete with the Chinese products here in India, and but not only in India but overseas as well. And I think those are the role models that he should study and see what did they do right, and how did they manage to compete with the Chinese, and he should follow that exactly in terms of innovation, both in the product as well as business processes. Innovation need not necessarily happen in the product area, it could also happen in innovative business processes, whether it's the services that he provides his clients, or the way he sells it, and so on and so forth.
All right, that's in response to your query, Bharat. Thanks very much for writing in. Let's in fact take a very quick break at this point, but much more on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, taking in all of your queries which have been coming in to us. The next one, in fact, is coming to us from the line of Milind Bhandarkar. Go ahead, Milind.
I wanted to export the dairy equipment and machinery regularly to the milking machines and bulk milk coolers to UK and Europe and South Africa. And I wanted funding and support from the Bank of Indian banks, as well as remittance from the abroad and government export promotion councils. Everything I should be clarified immediately.
All right, Milind, thanks very much for calling in with that query. So essentially, he's a manufacturer as well, and wants to know if there are any bank schemes or provisions available as far as exporting were concerned. And we were talking about exports, but the other side of exports just before the break in terms of competition. But for Indian manufacturers, the government, of course, is going whole hog to talk about make in India, for India and for the world. But for someone who's looking at such export markets, what would you recommend?
Sure. Of course, I'm not an expert on banking finance, but what I do know is that there is credit available at concessional rates to MSMEs and SMEs, both before they ship their product and even after they ship their product. So there's pre-shipment credit available and post-shipment credit available, and there's also schemes which of the ECGC, which guarantees, which provides insurance for foreign credit. So these are three things that he can look at. He may also look at some of the overseas financial services companies and banks for also seeing if they can give better competitive rates than what Indian banks can give.
India loves when when we earn foreign exchange, right? So there would be all the banks and all the regulators will be very happy to help you if you say I'm going to get dollars in this country. So as he said, there are multiple schemes available when you want to export, but I think he has to explore it from a lender to a lender, because everybody has some innovative product offering for financing it. So, but I personally feel it will not be a challenge for him, because since he's exporting and earning foreign exchange for the country.
Okay, so Milind, that's in response to your query, and most people are more than willing, that's what our experts are saying, in terms of lending finance to particularly those who are looking at export markets. So all the very best for that, and I hope that answers your query. Let's take our next one. This is an email coming to us from Vivek Gupta. He's written in to say that he trades in industrial products, but says that does not have financial provisions to upgrade his company to software like SAP and others, which is necessary for his business. He's written in to ask if our experts could suggest any other software that can be implemented. Alternatively, what could be the recommendation for small businesses like his which can't afford expensive software? We were talking about this at the start of the show in terms of software which is necessary for GST, for example, and the cost associated with that. But for small businesses which are looking to upgrade and say we can't bear the cost, what would you say?
So one technological revolution that has happened is the SaaS based models of software is available. So today in the market, as simple as CRM, you will get some 50 SaaS based models available for you. You'll have to pick your business, what suits your business. So for Vivek, what he needs to figure out is which are the processes that he needs software. And unlike the SAP days where you had to put crores on the table first and then get the software, you can actually pay for these software as you earn, right? So that's a revolution that all SMEs or MSMEs should capitalize on and move to the cloud and actually subscribe to SaaS based models. That's the best way to go forward.
And for small businesses, it's practically free, right, if you're looking at a cloud-based model?
Right, it's very cheap. And what is also interesting is earlier on, if you bought a particular product, then you were sort of saddled with it. Today, if you are using a SaaS based product, your investment is not very high, and the data that you've kept can actually be migrated to the, if you don't like this package anymore, you can move to the next package without any significant cost to the organization. So it's also become more flexible for organizations to figure out which is the software which suits them the most, and then move on to that.
Sure. That's in response to your query, Vivek. Thanks for writing in to us. The next one is also coming to us through email. Via email, Sandeep Jain has written in to us to say that he's in the tours and travels business and that he's taken a loan for 34 buses for his business, but due to modernization of the bus industry and the transportation industry, really, they faced a huge loss. He has written in to ask us what our experts would suggest to ensure that they both earn profits in this industry and are also able to modernize in a cost-effective manner. So there's a huge cost which has been sunk in terms of the infrastructure. So over and above that, then, to ensure that he still continues making his profit margin, what would your recommendation be to Sandeep?
So I think one needs to, of course, get into the details that why is he running losses, but a fair assumption could be that his buses are not being fully utilized, and therefore he is not able to cover his costs and pay for the interest that he may be incurring for buying those buses. I think just like in the software industry, the travel industry and the transportation industry has also gone through a huge major change in the last couple of years, and is actually going to get, the change is going to be more will be stronger in the next few years than it has been in the past. So the transport and the travel business has to sort of morph itself to the new environment, which is of online aggregators of travel. So whether it's taxis, buses, slowly all of it is getting aggregated on the net, and therefore for smaller operators, they either will have to become one of those participants in that online marketplace and compete with the others on that. But the advantage there is that capacity utilization at a price will not be a problem, because if you can lower your price, your capacity will be utilized. So to that extent, perhaps his losses could go down. He may also look at maybe specific areas where, depending on his location, where he can specialize in. Maybe it's pilgrimage, or it is corporate travel, or whatever.
Okay.
I think the fundamental issue in most of the questions related to businesses not doing well or incurring losses is, have they really stayed with time and have they evolved their business model? Because there is a lot of disruption happening in terms of technology, innovation, and absolute change in the business models. So are these guys really aware of what that change is, and are they prepared to face the change or change themselves? Because old businesses will be replaced by new businesses, old models will be replaced by new models, and I think that's really a fundamental question that Sandeep needs to ask himself. And if he can get an answer for that, then I think most of his problems would be solved.
All right, that's in response to your query, Sandeep. Thanks for writing in. Let's take the next one. This is coming to us on Facebook. Deepesh Rambia has written in to us on Facebook saying there's an abundant supply of services of all kinds of products and services in the market, and the demand, though, is very low. It's due to the lack of funds, is his question. He wants to know what is the cause of the current situation and what can be done to improve the same. This is a simple, I think, textbook kind of question to say that there is so much of supply and therefore prices maybe, margins maybe to some extent being impacted. But is there a more complex answer to it?
No, I think what my friend answered in the previous question is the same thing, that businesses have new businesses have come in and they find it, they're able to offer things cheaper, better, faster, whatever maybe and one needs to be agile and move with the times, really. I think if lack of funds is not necessarily the reason why some of the businesses are suffering. I think it's also a question of them being able to transform themselves to the new realities. That's my personal view.
The interesting part here is I've seen so many businesses. Many a time they come to us and say, we are not growing because we don't have funds. What they don't realize is larger set of problems and challenges start when you actually have funds. So funding is one of the problems, not the only problem. So a lot of MSMEs and SMEs are focused only on funding, and I think they need to broaden their horizon in terms of the problem sets that they have, because funding cannot solve everything. And if you have an excessive funding, for example, you're a 20 crore company and somebody walks to you and says, I give you 2000 crore, it's like infusing a 4000 watt into a 40 watt bulb. The organization will not be able to absorb that amount of capital. So I think it's important that they look at problems holistically and just not point out at funding deficit, because there's a very famous saying that there is ample capital available, there are shortage of ideas. So I think people need to look at problems little holistically.
Okay, so that's in response to your query, Deepesh. Do trust that you got the answer you were looking for. On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming down tonight and answering all of these queries. Completely out of time. Then on that note, do remember that if you have any queries for our panel of experts, you can write into us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on that number that you see on your screens. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.